And ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this very special segment today on the 8th day of October. And it is a little bit smoky out there, but it's not cloudy today here in Brisbane. So ladies and gentlemen, once again, welcome. My name is Umesh Chandra, and wonderful to have your company on this day. And in Brisbane, the temperature is at the moment around 25. Later in the day, it might reach up to 28 as per the predictions. Well, this is very auspicious time of the year at the moment because we are in Navrarti. And the second night of Navrarti today, the second day of Navrarti, the day dedicated to Mata Brahmacharya. It's also known as Dvitiya because it's the second day, Tritiya, then Chaturthi. So Brahmacharya is the second avatar of goddess Durga. According to legends, Mata Brahmacharya is the daughter of the Himalayas. She was also known Brahmacharya by Lord Brahma. Devotees believe that in offering prayers to Brahmacharya gives peace and happiness. Brahmacharya is also barefoot and carries a jap mala or prayer beads on the right hand and a kamandal or picha on the left. And of course, she is also known to be worshipped for self-confidence and knowledge. So that's the night. Well, yesterday was the first night, so here's some glimpses of Navrarti celebrations at Shree Venketasa Durga Temple in Canberra.
Nama Parvati Pariye எங்களுடைய ஆலயத்திலே சிறப்பாக தொண்டாற்றிய உமேஷ் சந்திரா அவர்களை எங்கள் ஆலய சார்பில் நாங்கள் பாராட்டி கௌரவிக்கிறோம். இப்போது கொஞ்ச நாளைக்கு முந்தி தான் அவருடைய பர்த்டே நடைபெற்றது. அதையிட்டு நாங்கள் இன்றைய தினம் அவருக்கு பாராட்டு விழா எங்களுடைய சமுதாயத்துக்கு மிகவும் பெரிய தொண்டாற்றி வருகிறார். அவருக்காக நாங்கள் எல்லோருமாக நீண்ட ஆயுளுடையும் தீர்க்காயுஷ்மானுடையும் இருக்க வேண்டி பிரார்த்திக்கிறோம்.
We would like to wish Mr. Umesh Chandra and we were doing this, in recognition of their efforts of promoting the Hindu and Indian cultural activities in Brisbane. So we would like to formally give our blessings from Durga Mata to them.
Om Sadamanam Bhavati Shadaya Purushendriye Ayushendriye Pratishtade Dirghashman Bhava Dirghasha Vivrittihi Asto Sarvavishta Palasra Siddhihi Asto Sri Vargushyam Arogyamapita Shopamanam Mahiyade Dhanyam Dhanam Vasum Bautra Labha Shaga Sambhasvaram Dirghamayuho Sarvavishta Palasra Siddhihi Asto. Vamos, vamos.
So there were, ladies and gentlemen, some of the glimpses of and of course the Panditji bestowed blessings on us, and we were very humbled by that very, very kind gesture there as well. Totally unexpected because we thought we'll be just there. But anyway, it was wonderful and good to see. What Panditji has done there is that he's divided the areas into central, north and south, so that rather than everyone crowding in, how to control the crowd during COVID. So he's come up with that. So yesterday was for central Brisbane. That's why we were there, from central Brisbane. All right, now moving on, let's take a look at what else is happening. Well, let's take a look at Australia and its international relationship at this point in time. Of course, we know Tony Abbott has just visited India, and he is going all around the world trying to, forge ties with many of the countries, and of course many of the countries where ties were probably not as cordial as some of the other countries. Well, one such country is Taiwan. And it's always been a challenge because the conflict between Taiwan and mainland China, and of course Australia needs to maintain its ties with both. So how do you manage that? So that's the role of Tony Abbott at this point in time.
Madam President.
He might be long out of office, but Tony Abbott is being treated like a visiting statesman in Taipei. He's made history meeting Taiwan's President Tsai Ing-wen, a woman Australian politicians carefully avoid for fear of offending China. and he was no fan of Taiwan's mask-wearing culture.
Please God, we won't be required to wear these wretched masks anymore.
Mr Abbott's main message was that Australia and other members of a regional trade pact should invite Taiwan despite China's objections, noting the island democracy is under huge pressure from Beijing.
It's more important than ever under such circumstances that your fellow democracies stand shoulder to shoulder with you.
Despite the formal meetings, the Prime Minister says Tony Abbott's not there as an unofficial envoy.
Tony's in Taiwan as a private citizen, and I didn't have any conversation with him before that, so what he has said and what messages he's passed on in that capacity.
But there are more pressing concerns for the Taiwanese. China has flown more fighter jets and bombers near Taiwan in the past week than in any other month. China's sabre rattling has rattled Washington, which has never made it clear whether it will intervene if Beijing orders a military invasion of Taiwan.
We are very concerned by the PRC's provocative military activity near Taiwan.
But some experts think Taiwan might not be the target of China's recent drills.
China. And that is something to be, reckoned with. We will see how it turns out and coincides. And our Prime Minister quite clearly said there that Tony Abbott is there as a private citizen on his own accord and not as an official government envoy. So that is quite interesting. Well, on an official envoy is our Trade Minister, and he has got a very, very tough job in trying to mend the relationship between France and Australia. And of course that comes on the back of ditching that big contract of submarines and taking it from Paris, France, and giving it to the US.
The Trade Minister, Dan Tehan, is negotiating the busy streets of Paris and trying to stop Australia's proposed free trade agreement with the European Union from coming to a standstill.
Obviously there's been disappointment here in France with the decision that we made around the submarines, but really what I want to do here is do the work that I need to do.
Australia is still feeling hostility after it axed a $90 billion contract with a French shipbuilder in favour of nuclear submarines built with the UK and the US.
We're open to sit down and discuss why we took a decision which we believe was in our national interest, in our sovereign interest, and we want to do that.
Dan Tehan will hold talks with the European Commission's Trade Minister, but his French counterpart declined an invitation. Those close to the French government say it's a sign they're reassessing the relationship.
You don't sign a strategic partnership agreement with one of the leading powers in Europe and a leading player in the Indo-Pacific and then disregard it. Swatch it away like an unwanted crumb on a table. That's what's bad. Trust is broken.
Trust is broken as per the French, and of course anyone in his position would feel that. But I think the talks between the Trade Minister and Australia and France has resulted in the French ambassador now having to come back.
Thank you, guys.
A case of
au revoir.
Soon to be bienvenue. The French ambassador's near 3-week sojourn back in Paris about to be over. France's fury at Australia torpedoing a submarine contract.
It was huge.
Prompted Jean-Pierre Thébault to be recalled. His boss, the French foreign minister, rescinding that order.
I have now asked our ambassador to return to Canberra with 2 missions, contribute to redefine the terms of our relations with Australia.
See, the Australia-France relationship is bigger than a contract.
A very big contract, though, worth $90 billion. French electric diesel subs dumped in favour of even more expensive nuclear-powered submarines built by the British or Americans. France insists restoring trust and friendly relations will take more than time.
We will need strong acts instead of just words.
To the quality of the relations.
Echoing what the ambassador told the ABC shortly before he was recalled.
That there will be a substantial gesture that will demonstrate the fact that we are back on track.
It's not a matter, frankly, of what additional things we're putting on our cooperation. We already have cooperation.
The French have a considerable presence in the Indo-Pacific. They also have enormous influence in the European Union, with whom Australia is seeking a free trade agreement.
It is a pity that those issues don't seem to have been worked through in a diplomatic way by Mr Morrison.
I've put Australia's national security interests first, and now I will work to ensure that we deal with the other issues that flow from that.
Starting with the fact that France wants a lot of compensation for Australia breaking the contract. Then there's the capability and industry gaps created by going nuclear. Australia will either have to lease nuclear subs or convince the US or the Brits to station some here.
And that will be a challenging task, I believe, for you. Well, right now, let's get back to Australia and let's look at some of the COVID numbers. And of course, there is an increased call to get under 40s to reach about 80% of the vaccination rate.
How do you feel about these restrictions being eased more significantly than previously planned?
Good morning, Joe. Look, there's some confusion there, and they talk about a measured, safe way with vaccination our way out. But one of the issues that no government, no state government, let alone New South Wales, which is a real hotspot or has been, has really understood, and that is the under 40 years of age represent the majority of cases and therefore the majority of transmission. In New South Wales, it's 69%. In Victoria, it's about 73%. That's enormous. And that's the group that needs to reach 80%. Now, at the moment, they've reached about 56% double vaccinated. Fantastic. But they need another 2 to 3 weeks to get to 80%. Now, they will do that, but they need to shorten the dose between dose 1 and dose 2 of Pfizer back to the original protocol of 21 to 28 days so they can hasten that group to be fully vaccinated at 80%. And 80% is the minimum for that age group. In fact, I'd prefer it to be 90%, which I know they will get because they're an amazing young group of people.
So this amazing young group of people, so under 40s, it is very highly recommended that they get up to that 80% as well. But what is happening in New South Wales is they're going to move ahead to the next stage of easing the restrictions. And number one, the area of focus at this point in time are the schools.
I keep focusing on the things that have stayed the same because with so much change going on, certainly I find it comforting to know that I've still got parts of the plan, we've already worked on that we can roll out. So the same age groups are coming back at the same time, the same staged return, those cohorts coming one week at a time, still the same.
And of course, that might be the case, but we were looking at opening the schools and students going back face-to-face in the classes.
The new Premier of New South Wales has outlined changes to the state's reopening roadmap. Let's go through some of the details. All students will be back in classrooms by October the 25th. Kindergarten, Years 1 and 2 students will still return on October the 18th, with all other years a week later. From Monday, 10 fully vaccinated people will be allowed to visit a home, while up to 30 will be able to gather outdoors. All indoor swimming pools will also reopen for rehab, lessons and laps. From Monday, up to 100 fully vaccinated people will be permitted to attend weddings and funerals. That's a doubling of the cap announced by former Premier Gladys Berejiklian. Significant changes have also been made to freedoms at 80% of double vaccination of the 16-plus population. 20 people will be allowed to visit a home, while 50 can gather outdoors. Up to 3,000 people will be able to attend outdoor ticketed events. That's a big jump from the previous cap of 500. And at 80%, nightclubs will reopen, but only for seated drinking. Dancing will not be allowed. Rules around mask wearing will also be eased earlier than planned. Once the state reaches 80% vaccination, they will no longer be mandatory in offices for people who've had both jabs. The Premier, Dominic Perrottet, has defended the changes as sensible and measured.
We need to open up.
Sensible and measured, as the new Premier is saying. Well, right now it's time to get a message from our sponsors for the segment.
GlobeNet Realty. GlobeNet Realty has been the longest established, trusted and respected agency in its trade area. Washa Chandra, Director of GlobeNet Realty, provides honest and ethical service to her customers. If you are thinking of investing in Brisbane real estate market, or if you are seeking professional property management, then you should contact Asha Chandra today on landline 3865 4466 or mobile 0419 775 416. And for further updates, log on to our website www.globenetralty.com.au. GlobeNet Realty is your own local real estate agency. Situated at Shop 52281 Sandgate Road, Boondall. GlobeNet Realty. Real estate is our world.
Is there, and real estate is there. Well, don't forget that every Wednesday we have Usha Chandra right here in the studios with the real estate update on a weekly basis as well. Right now it's time to go to India with the Daily India Report.
Welcome to the Daily India Report that brings you glimpses of the changing India and the growing engagement of the Indian diaspora with India. In our first story, Indian Foreign Secretary Shree says that India and the US will remain closely engaged in Afghanistan and beyond. Indian Foreign Secretary Harshvardhan Shringla said in view of the fast-paced developments in South Asia, especially in Afghanistan, India and the US will remain closely engaged both on the future of Afghanistan and on how the two can maintain peace and stability in South Asia and beyond. In his remarks at the India Ideas Summit 2021 by the US-India Business Council, Shringla said that the India-US relationship will ensure a free, open and inclusive Indo-Pacific region and a peaceful and prosperous world. He said Prime Minister Narendra Modi had excellent meeting with President Joe Biden and not only reviewed but upgraded the India-US Comprehensive Global Strategic Partnership to focus on contemporary regional and global issues. Modi's meeting with Vice President Kamala Harris was substantive, with a focus on emerging and critical technologies, climate, space, COVID pandemic and the healthcare sector. Post the pandemic, both nations will work together to maintain healthy rates of growth by enhancing trade and investment and also support supply chain resilience and diversity, tapping emerging technologies, working towards global health security and facilitating clean and green technologies and climate finance for developing and vulnerable countries. Afghanistan and China focus of high-level discussions between India and US as a follow-up to Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit to USA and meeting with US President Joe Biden. US Deputy Secretary of State Wendy Sherman and Indian Foreign Secretary Harshvardhan Shringla reviewed pressing regional and global security issues including Afghanistan, Iran, Russia, China and Myanmar during their talks. The two top officials held a substantive and in-depth meeting in Delhi during Sherman's three-day visit. They discussed the growing security, economic and Indo-Pacific convergence between India and the United States, including ending the COVID-19 pandemic, combating the climate crisis, and accelerating clean energy deployment, deepening trade and investment ties, and expanding cooperation on cybersecurity and emerging technologies. Sherman expressed gratitude for Modi's announcement that India, which is the world's largest vaccine producer, would soon resume exports of COVID-19 vaccines. Sherman and Shringla also reviewed pressing regional and global security issues including Afghanistan, Iran, Russia and the People's Republic of China. Both also discussed ongoing efforts to return Myanmar to a path to democracy. Sherman assured Shringla of ongoing US commitment to India's national security. The two expressed their mutual commitment to upholding democracy and human rights and agreed on the importance of continued close cooperation on shared global challenges. Indian government slashes bank guarantees for telecom firms, 100% FDI in telcos through automatic route notified. In line with decisions of the Indian Union Cabinet, The Department of Telecommunications has issued notifications slashing the bank guarantee requirements for telecom operators by as much as 80%. Thus, the performance bank guarantee is reduced to a maximum of 440 million rupees for each service for the telecom license from 2,200 million rupees earlier. Similarly, the financial bank guarantee for the operators has been cut to 88 million rupees for each circle from 440 million rupees required earlier. The notification stated that the rationalization of bank guarantees will not be applicable in cases where a bank guarantee is furnished or required due to a court order. The amended bank guarantee would also not apply to companies that are under corporate insolvency resolution process or related litigation. In case of multiple bank guarantees for all the licenses or authorizations held, the licensee shall have an option to submit bank guarantees centrally at one place instead of license service areas wise. The amended license norms would help companies like Airtel and Vodafone as it will result in improved cash flows. The Department for Promotion of Industry and Internal Trade has issued a press note for 100% FDI in the telecom sector. The Modi cabinet had last month approved a number of structural and process reforms in the telecom sector. 17,000 Indian students likely to return to Australia soon following minister-level talks. India's Education Minister Dharmendra Pradhan raised the issue of the return of Indian students to Australian university campuses during a virtual discussion with his Australian counterpart Alan Tudge. The education ministers of the two countries held a virtual meeting to strengthen ties in the field of higher education. During the discussion, Pradhan also raised the issue of the return of Indian students studying in Australia. A ban on the entry of international students holding temporary visas following the outbreak of the COVID-19 pandemic has prevented several Indian students from joining the universities down under for more than 18 months. It is expected that the return of students will start soon. Both countries pledged to lay emphasis on two-way student mobility, teacher exchanges, applied research and other areas of mutual priority. Earlier, Indian External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar had also taken up problems faced by Indian students in Australia with his counterpart Marie Spain during the latter's recent visit to India and urged that the difficulty faced by students due to travel restrictions be sympathetically addressed as soon as possible. Pradhan noted that India's National Education Policy 2020 will be instrumental in channelizing the aspiration and future needs of our youth and in making India more relevant in the global arena. He said the education and skills spectrum has significant potential for further cooperation between India and Australia. In the first week of October, Australia announced plans for the reopening of international travel and the easing of border restrictions. The country has approved the Indian-made Covishield vaccine for travelling into Australia. Indian American wins Miss World America title. India-born Shree Saini will become the first Indian American to represent the USA at the Miss World pageant after she was crowned Miss World America 2021. 25-year-old Saini, born in Ludhiana in the Indian state of Punjab, is an extraordinary pageant winner for a number of reasons. Now an advocate for heart health, she was diagnosed with a rare heart condition at the age of 12 and has been on a pacemaker since then. Saini also suffered severe burns to her entire face in a near-fatal car accident in her freshman year of college. Following these early setbacks in her life, Saini has dedicated much of her time to talking publicly about mental health and heart health. She has studied journalism at the University of Washington and is a trained ballerina. Miss World America pageant organizers shared the news via their official Instagram handle. Shree, who is currently Miss World America Washington, also holds the prestigious position of MWA National Beauty with the Purpose Ambassador, a position she earned by working tirelessly to help those less fortunate and in need. Among her many accomplishments, her work has been recognized by UNICEF, Doctors Without Borders, Susan G. Komen and many others. 20 killed, hundreds injured as quake rattles southern Pakistan. Around 20 people were killed and more than 200 injured when a shallow earthquake hit southern Pakistan in the early hours on October 7th while people were sleeping. Many of the victims died when roofs and walls collapsed after the 5.7 magnitude quake struck in the Balochistan province, with a power cut forcing health workers to treat the injured using flashlights. The worst affected area was the remote mountainous city of Harnai, where a lack of paved roads, electricity and mobile phone coverage hampered rescuers. Nasir Nasser, the head of Balochistan's Provincial Disaster Management Authority, warned that the toll may rise. The quake caused electricity to fail in the region, with health staff working until dawn without lights in a poorly equipped government hospital. Private individuals were helping rush the injured to hospitals. The US Geological Survey said the quake had a magnitude of 5.7 and struck around 3 a.m. at a depth of around 20 kilometers. The earthquake was also felt in Balochistan's capital, Quetta. Action-packed drama Sanak starring Vidyut Jamwal is bound to enthrall the audience. Here's a look at the trailer.
साला हम तुमको मोगैम्बो समझ रहे थे तुम तो रैम्बो निकले
Bollywood actor Vidyut Jamwal is back again with another action thriller titled Sanak. The trailer looks promising. In the film, Vidyut Jamwal is a one-man army who helps hostages at a hospital and takes down the group of terrorists who have attacked the hospital single-handedly. The trailer starts with Vidyut Jamwal convincing his partner Vanshika, played by Rukmini Maitra, that she needs to undergo a surgery that will cure her heart disease. The two promise each other to live happily ever after the operation, but their lives take a U-turn when the hospital is attacked by terrorists. As the terrorists hold all the patients and staff hostage, including Vanshika, and start hurting them and killing them, Vidyut Jamwal becomes furious and starts taking them down one by one. Neha Dhupia plays the police officer leading the rescue operation at the hospital in the film, while Chandan Roy Sanyal plays the antagonist. That's all for this bulletin of Daily India Report. Thank you for watching.
And thank you very much, Ankita, for that report. Well, ladies and gentlemen, before we go to the events for this weekend, because hey, it is Friday, and nearly forgot that because there's so much that's actually happening out there. Here's a message from Usman Khwaja of the upcoming cricket.
Unfortunately, I think when I look around Australia and Australian cricket, it doesn't quite represent what's out there in Australia at the moment. I think that's a big part of the multiculturalism, whether it's about the World Cup coming up through ICC or Australian cricket in general. I always laugh that I grew up in Australia. I'm from Pakistan, but my closest friends in Australia are Sri Lankan and Indian and Bangladeshi. Well, I actually don't really, not by choice. It's just funnily the way I went to university and the friends I made, they're the ones I went close to. I didn't actually meet too many Pakistani people growing up because when I played cricket, there wasn't a lot of Pakistani people playing cricket. So I didn't really have too many connections with the South Asian community growing up. I was surrounded predominantly by Anglo-Saxon Australians. But funnily enough, I made a uni, and it's funny that I always say that my close friends are all from these countries, even though there's so many so many conflicts and hostilities you see overseas between India and Pakistan. Some of my closest friends are Indian. I guess that's what multiculturalism is for me, because I know that when I'm in Australia, that it doesn't really matter to me. And that's the goal at the end of the day. And that's the most important thing for me. So that's why I'm so passionate about it. I'm passionate to see people of ethnicity playing for Australia, playing cricket. It's a big part of, I think, my goal, leaving cricket in a better space. And I think slowly and surely it's starting to happen. I can see it happen. Still got a bit of way to go, but I'm looking forward to see what happens in the future. That's pretty much it. If anyone has as Maxie said, any questions for me leading up? I don't want to bore you with too many details. I assume people have some specific questions for me. But for me, I think, yeah, I'm really excited about some of the stuff Cricket Australia is doing. Nick Hockley on the line at the moment. I think I've been a part of cricket for a long time, and I haven't met too many CEOs who've been that passionate about multiculturalism. We've already had 2 or 3 meetings together, and that's more meetings than I've ever had with a CEO in Cricket Australia about multiculturalism. So that, to me, just says it all. So I'm looking forward to working with Nick and hearing what Nick has to say too, and seeing what his plans are in the future.
Usman Rajul here from Fans India. Just a quick one, not a question, just a comment on what you just said. You know, your success story is really motivational. A lot of kids from subcontinental background, they look forward to what you have achieved, and they dream about playing for Australia one day. So you are equally praised everywhere, basically in India, as you said, and all across the other subcontinental countries as well. So congratulations for what you achieved, and you're a motivational guy for all of us here.
Very kind. I appreciate it. Look, that's the goal. There's a lot of barriers I had to face growing up too, and I never shy away from it. I never lie. And as I said, Australia was cricket is in a lot of respects still a very white dominated sport. And I think when I look at people, when I see people, all my favorite sportsmen, when you go sportsmen, funnily enough, have all been coloured sportsmen. Not by any reason that I, choose to like them more than others. It's just because I can relate to them more and I can see their picture. I think, oh yeah, he's sort of like me. He likes the same music as I do, or he dresses similar the way I do. And I think that's really important. And I think seeing players, when they see someone like myself or some of the younger guys coming up, through Cricket Australia, through New South Wales, whatever state cricket program there might be, that they can relate, and then they think, oh, if he can do it, I can do it too. So thanks for that. I really appreciate it. I think it's very powerful, that message. The foundation, Usman Quaita Foundation, has 2 purposes. One is, as I mentioned earlier, we have cricket clinics in New South Wales so far, and Brisbane, hopefully get into Melbourne soon too. It's more about just giving children an opportunity to come and play cricket for free. There's not too many opportunities in Australia where they do get the ability to just rock up, sign up and play and enjoy a sport they may never have played before. So that goal is to get, it's whether kids of low socioeconomic backgrounds, refugees, immigrants, anyone who actually is not too familiar with the game, to actually just get them involved and say, look, this is cricket, this is fun, it's free, enjoy it. If you like it, we can set you up and get you involved in clubs. If you don't, that's fine. As I said from my story earlier, that the one thing that broke barriers for me was sport. So I would just want to give that same thing back to anyone. Doesn't matter, you don't have to be from the subcontinent, you can be from anywhere around the world, Africa, Eastern Europe, wherever it may be that doesn't play cricket, but it is targeting obviously people and children in particular who have it a bit tougher than the rest. And secondly is an educational view where I grew up. My parents, being subcontinent parents, I had to study. I think everyone who's grown up in subcontinent family knows that that cultural aspect of it. So education was a very big point in my family. I went to school, then I went to university straight out of school, got a degree in Bachelor in Aviation. And so for me, education is a very important part too, because it's one thing that can set you up in life and help you and make avenues and open up doors. So the second part of the foundation is helping kids who need the help, a helping hand, whether it's school, stationery, clothing, work, any sort of little grants we can do to help children to try to make their lives a little bit easier. So
thank you very much for that.
Much
and right now we will be joined by our Premier.
Hopefully,
have done 15,704 tests over the last 24 hours. So if I can just say to Queenslanders, please continue to go and get tested as you need to. Any symptoms whatsoever, it's really critical. and there were 18,776 vaccines administered by Queensland Health yesterday. So that means we have in Queensland 68.78% have had at least one dose, and 50.3% are now fully vaccinated. So that's fantastic news. Well done to Queensland. Now, we've just come from our teleconference with the Chief Health Officer and Yvette Darth, the Health Minister. They're currently in Rockhampton, once again encouraging people to get vaccinated. It's absolutely critical that we get as many people vaccinated as possible. And because we've had such good news over the last week, the Chief Health Officer, Dr. Young, has today advised that we can ease restrictions from 4 p.m. today. So what does that mean? From 4 p.m. today, that means we go back to those stage 3 restrictions. So our pubs, clubs and cafes can have double the number of patrons, 1 per 2 square metres. For our young people, dancing is back. You can have 100 people to your home. Now, the other issue that I know has really impacted on people not being able to visit their loved ones in aged care facilities and hospitals, they can all go and do that, which is fantastic from 4 p.m. today. And I know that has been very, very difficult on people. So in relation to restrictions, there are still some restrictions that we need to do. And the first thing, of course, is use that check-in app. And then secondly, it's in relation to masks. So if people can just generally follow these principles, so where you can't socially distance indoors, wear a mask. We would suggest that you continue to wear these masks when you are going into shopping centres, when you go onto public transport. Also, if you are going inside to a cafe, restaurant or pub, you wear your mask going in, you check in, and then you don't need to wear your mask. But if you are feeling compromised that you can't socially distance, then of course the onus is on you if you want to put that mask on. So these masks are very, very vital in terms of stopping any potential spread. But because Queenslanders have done a great job, Dr. Young has advised us this morning that those restrictions can ease. Schools too, I might just mention that we're asking students and teachers to wear the masks, of course, going into the schoolroom and out. They will be applying from next week. But teachers can remove their masks if they're at the front of the class teaching, and the students can remove their masks if they are seated. So that's also easing it for people as well. And of course, this weekend is our big Super Vax weekend. Once again, I'm just urging people to go and get vaccinated, and also the timeline has come up from our last Super Vax weekend of when people are due for their second dose. So we're expecting a lot of people out there this weekend. Yesterday I saw a whole lot of people over at South Bank, over at the Convention Centre getting their vaccination, which is of course great news. So happy to take a few quick questions.
I mean, there seems to be a bit of confusion among people who've been selected for the home quarantine trials. Some have received emails from Queensland Health inviting them to the trial, and then received another email from Queensland Police saying they're still working through it. Can you tell these people what's going on?
Look, I'm happy to look into that, Tim. Look, what we're doing is the trial is starting on Monday. Of course, people will be coming in on flights during that week. The trial is for 1,000 people who are fully vaccinated. This is something that we have been working on for quite some time, and I'm very pleased that the Commissioner, the Deputy Commissioner and the Chief Health Officer said that we're all set for Monday, and everyone's very excited to hear that.
It sounds like a great program.
Yeah.
Selecting who goes into that.
I think it's the exemptions unit, but I'll check for you. Yes. Yeah. Well, we're working on the 70% double dose first, but my understanding is that we are looking at the end of this month, or it might be early November. We'll get confirmation from that early next week, so I'll be able to advise you on Monday or Tuesday. By the end of October is my understanding. End of October, early November. Yeah. There'll be another National Cabinet meeting next month, and we hope to be in a position then but we will open when it's safe to do so. So what we're looking at now, we're looking very closely at what's happening in New South Wales and Victoria. I note there was some easing of restrictions in New South Wales. Their vaccination rates are going up quite steadily, which is great. They've had a big outbreak, so people have come out and got vaccinated. But, you know, very concerning, 1,800 cases, I think, from memory in Victoria today. If you think about that, we've had just over 2,000 cases during the whole pandemic. So we really want to see the vaccination rates, you know, right across the country. And please don't forget that we are open to Northern Territory, Western Australia, South Australia and Tasmania.
You mentioned earlier in the week you are concerned about the Gold Coast and other areas. GPs there say they've noticed a steep decline in the number of appointments they're getting at vaccine clinics. Are you worried in particular about the Gold Coast and the vaccine uptake?
Look, I have been concerned about the Gold Coast, about Logan and Beaudesert and Ipswich, which is why we've been actively going around there, and also too in regional Queensland. So we do need everybody. I want to make sure that we have even spread across the state to protect our most vulnerable. So, you know, I'm just urging people out there, if you have not been vaccinated at the moment, please go and get vaccinated. I cannot be clearer. And it is just so inspiring to see so many Queenslanders coming up to me and telling me how they've been vaccinated. I was down the Gold Coast on Monday and I had a person sitting on the next table who said, Anastasia, I've got my vaccine and I'm going to go and tell people in my workplace to get their vaccine. So when people are sending me their photos, go and tell your work colleagues, your friends, please get vaccinated. And of course you can go to your GPs on the Gold Coast to get your vaccine, and we've also got the hubs open as well. Yeah, as Dr. Young said, our critical threshold is that everybody who is eligible to get the vaccine has had the option to get that vaccine. I think that's critical. That is absolutely critical, and I absolutely stand by Dr. Young's. Well, we're working through all that. Depends on the supply. We're getting all of that information, and we'll be modelling that very, very soon. The work's happening.
It's a great step forward. There are thousands of people who don't qualify.
Yeah, that's. Yep, so what we're doing is we're doing the first 1,000, and if that works really well, then of course we're going to extend that trial. But like Dr. Young said, one step at a time. Let's see how this goes first, and then I think we will be looking at our vaccination rates and the vaccination rates in New South Wales and Victoria. And then if it goes well and people, you know, the big onus is on people complying. And if people comply and do the right thing, then it'll be all systems go to extend that. Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I think there's great hope there. We will examine that trial by the end of October, once we've done the first 2 weeks, and we'll be able to make further announcements, I would imagine, by the next National Cabinet meeting. Last one? Yeah.
You mentioned the high rates of vaccination in the ACT.
Yes.
Perhaps reopening the borders to the ACT, so those people who've been double dosed there first before considering New South Wales and Victoria.
Look, I'll take the advice of Dr. Young. I always take their health advice. But we are seeing, well, ACT's not open yet to everyone else. So usually what happens is when they open up to everyone else, other states would follow and say that's okay. So look, let's get the advice from Dr. Young, but it's great to see those high vaccination rates, and I'd love to see those high vaccination rates right across the country. Then it would be safe to open up, because you then will not have those surges on your hospitals. Okay? Thank you.
So there you go, Queenslanders, well done. Restrictions are easing 4 p.m. today. Masks are still recommended to be worn in public places, and that sort of makes common sense as well, where you feel that, you know, there's too many people and you cannot safely social distance, then you should be using the mask. But we're going back to the stage 3, which is very good news for us here. But right now, it's time for looking at the functions and events happening in Brisbane. Gentlemen, that's been a lot of functions happening there. So if you are on the mailing list of our EDM, you will get a notification this later today. And of course, don't forget that the latest edition of Brisbane Indian Times, the Diwali issue is out. So, if you can pick them up from your nearest outlets. And if you have any problems picking up the newspaper, please do let us know and we'll arrange for deliveries around your area. As we know, many of the distribution keeps changing because some new shops keep opening and there are some shops which are closing as well. So, we'd like to keep up to date, and if you have any problems in any of these areas, please do contact us. But the latest edition, the October edition, the Diwali edition is out and about, so please do pick up your copies. You can also read it online as well. And our daily Facebook Live segment, if you have any topics that you'd like to discuss, you'd like to talk about any function, or about anyone's achievement, whatever you might have, we are quite happy to have you on the show. We are welcoming everyone to come on and have take a look at all the things that we do. And of course, you can book your spot, and for that, contact Rajni, and of course, she will look after you. The phone number is 0430193715. So you can have your advertisement right here in this segment, or you could have a hosted program, as some of the, some new programs are coming up, some exciting updates coming your way very soon. So once again, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for being with us. And don't forget that tomorrow at 10 a.m., we'll have the weekend edition at 10 a.m. with all the roundup of all the things that have been happening. And we'll bring to you some glimpses of the Fiji Day celebration that's happening tonight. So up till that, it's wonderful to see you. So yes, that phone number once again, 0430193715. Contact Rajni to book your spot. And if you have any ads that you'd like to place in the newspaper, then some quite exciting deals coming at the moment, please do contact her to work out a nice package for you. So until tomorrow, it's goodbye for me. It's wonderful having your company. We'll see you back tomorrow with the weekend edition.